That's how it works. That's how.
Yeah.
Well, you want that to and it's been shown.
Number of years ago, I just got posted.
Yeah. Say, and you're gonna learn about that. No. So it's. No, I don't. Yep.
That's good.
Very. Sure, you have to be, okay. Hello, how are you? Good, and hi.
So I'll go over. Sounds good. Well, it's 5:30 and I'd like to call to order the Curriculum and Student Development Committee of the Madison Board of Education. Our committee is comprised of Kathy Miller and Mary Ann Connolly and myself, Stephen Phipps. And we have a couple items on our agenda tonight, I think that we'll find of interest. I know I will. So I'd like to turn it over to our Assistant Superintendent Gail Nolling-Hench to present our agenda tonight.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Excited to share a couple of updates with the committee. The first one has actually been in the making for 2 years. It's our 3rd year using this tool. And I have to say that when we first bought the data visualization tool, Tableau, we worked with another area district that had used it for several years. And after several years, they didn't have the data visualizations in the hands of teachers yet. And within, I don't know, a few months over the summer, William Ching and Sheila, her counterpart, figured out Tableau, learned how to pull data into visualizations and have made incredible data visualizations for use across the district. So we're going to give you an update on what a data viz is. Ching is, she doesn't like the title, but she's our data analyst or whatever. She's like, I can't believe you said that. And is the main mastermind in data visualization. And her counterpart is Sheila, who sits, they sit together in a huddle and they do amazing things. You should hear the conversations. I don't understand it, but I'm grateful they do. So tonight, I do want to recognize the two of you for being key learners and growers and making this possible in the district. So thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Ching and Sheila. So.
Well, thank you guys for, Ching and I thank you for having us. And as Gail mentioned, we're just here to show you a little bit about the work that's been done using all the information that we have stored in Infinite Campus, our student information system, and the data analytic platform Tableau to pull and present several different data points on all of our students so that teachers and administrators can make data-driven decisions. Okay, so Infinite Campus is the bank where all the information that gets pulled into the visualizations is stored. It is the only source that has the information in it. And what do we collect in Infinite Campus? So these are the primary areas that are being pulled from the student information system into the visualizations. Assessments being the largest. All of our teachers that they administer the district level assessments and they input the scores into Infinite Campus. And then all the things like state assessments, the SBAC, the NGSS, et cetera, and the universal screens like ECCDM, they're all imported into Infinite Campus. So that's primary data that goes into the visualizations. And then other data such as behavior incidents, attendance counts, demographic information, gender, race, ethnicity, grade levels, grades, how the students are scoring in their classes and enrollments, how long they've been with us, and scheduling what courses they're taking. And this is a chart that depicts in 23-24 just the local assessment data points that were collected on every student in each grade level. So teachers and administrators have a lot of information at their fingertips on their students.
So after the information got put into Infinite Campus, we use this tool called Tableau to create the databases. Tableau is just a data visualization tool, and therefore it doesn't make any changes to the original data, but just to pull the data from different sections in our student information system. And then afterwards, it will join, sort, calculate, organize, and eventually present the data to the users in a more understandable way to help the users to look at the data more comprehensively. And once the database is completed, we publish it back into Infinite Campus. So as you can see on this screen, this whole process starts with Infinite Campus and ends with Infinite Campus. So for our teachers and administrators, they only need to access one platform to perform both data entry and the data analysis. The users of our databases are our teachers, student study team, parents, and the administrators.
Ching is going to open up a sample data visualization that she created that does not show any specific student information. So
I'm just gonna jump in. This is the list of all the data visualizations that I can see. So that whole list, can you go back?
very quick.
Just go back to data dashboards. Yeah, so look at all those visits and it's got a scroll bar there. So these are all visits on different subjects and different ways that we can look at data.
Okay, so Ching has up a sample teacher data workbook. So the teacher has all the data that's been collected on that student in the year, going the whole way through the year. And when they open up the workbook at the beginning of the school year, it will actually have their spring of the year before's assessment data. So they have a baseline, they know where the students were at the end of the last school year. And that way, when they go to administer assessments in the fall, they can see if there's any summer slide going on for any of their kids. As you can see, there's tons of different assessments, and there's a lot of popping colors that you might see. There's yellow on this particular area. You might have seen the pink a little ways back, and those are coded so that if the student scores in for the proficiency levels of each assessment, pink means they're at risk, they didn't, quite score so well. Yellow is some risk, and those are the colors that the teachers will probably want to zone in or filter in on more so than the other ones. But also the green for that particular ECCBM, that's the students that are in the top 10 percentile, scoring the highest. And so so all the data is presented in a way that the teachers can see how their kids did. And they don't have to do any of that, referencing how, the score is. The data visualization tells them what proficiency level their score is at.
Is this just an individual students?
Each row is one single
Yeah.
student in the classroom for that teacher. So they'd have to just kind of, scroll across to see the one student.
They could also eliminate different assessments. So if you look at, see how they're all checked off? These are all the assessments. But if we just wanted to see the district phonemic awareness one, we could check that, or EasyCBM, and it would show one assessment at a time. We could also look at subgroups and look at how different populations are doing. We can also take a look at teachers across the grade level. Teachers can use this in their PLCs, their professional learning communities, to be able to say, my kids struggled in this assessment. Your kids look really strong in this assessment. What did you do differently? So it opens up the conversation about shared practice. And we can also look at just the color filters. So if we want to see the most at-risk populations, we can just look at the most at risk. Or if we want to see the kids who are the strongest, we can look at the kids who are the strongest. So this is just one viz. And you can see that from the other slide, the number of assessments that we do in small slices at the elementary level are the most. So you've got your most data points in K1, 2, 3, and less as you go on up. But actually, Ching was sharing with me that math at the high school asked her to do a viz for Algebra 1 students. So they're taking a look at implementing it much the same way. We're seeing if they can take smaller slices of assessments. Sorry, I had to jump in and tell you like how many visits there are. It's like 1 million. We have data.
So we also designed a variety of visits for our student study team. Here are just the two examples. So the upper one with the dark blue background, that one is mainly used by our K-8 students. So this list pulls out individual students' 3-year assessment data and visualize kids' growth across the school years. So besides the assessment data, this one also shows the students' attendance information, home language and multi-language status, and the students' special education status. So it's putting together like a big picture about the student to guide the team to look at the students through different lenses. The second viz on this screen is called Early Warning System viz. It's used by our middle school and high school. Like the other one, this viz also pulls out more than just the academic information. It has so the users can monitor the students' progress throughout the school year by looking at the grades, attendance, and the behavior information. The student profile sheet is a viz we created it for our parents. So the teachers in Jeffrey Ryerson and the Brown schools, they widely use this viz to share during the teacher-parent conference to inform the parents how the students did in the EasyCPM benchmarks. The bar chart here shows the kids' performance against the EasyCPM national tests.
And on this slide, we have two flip screens of two visualizations that were built for administrators to give them an aggregate view of data. So the upper left screen, you can see this is a grade level EasyCBM report. And what this particular screenshot shows is the kindergarten class of the 22-23 school year, how they did on the ELA EasyCBM assessment. And so as you can see at a grade level view, the administrator can see how they did on letter naming, letter sounds, phonemic segmenting, and by the different time periods, like the T1 fall, how they did then, and then in the next T2 winter, how the kids did there. And so as you can see at the top, there are filters. The administrator can pick a different grade level. They can pick the math content area, and they can change the school year. And then at the bottom, it also provides how the kindergarten class the years before did relative to this year. So you can see the 2021 and the 21-22 and the 22-23 all at a glance. And again, this is providing data so that administrators can make instructional decisions that are data driven. And then the second clip screen in the right side is called equity status by course enrollments. And so in this particular viz, the administrator chose the Daniel Ham 23-24 school year. And in that year, there were a total of 803 students. And then the viz breaks it down, as you see on the left side, both by the demographic type of information, their race and ethnicity, by the gender, by their SPED status, their grade, etc. And then on the filter on the top, the administrator chooses select course level, and they can pick between college, general ed, honors, basic remedial course levels. And so then this particular viz, they chose college, and it says of the 803, 274 students were in a college level course, and that of those 274, it breaks it down by the various demographic type of areas, race, ethnicity, gender. So as you can see, like in the gender one, more girls took college level courses than boys, because on the very right side, they're overrepresented. And then this viz is also an equity status type of viz. There are other tabs administrators can choose by attendance or by grades or by behavior. So there's a lot of aggregate data for administrators out there.
So I think the most special thing about the use of this tool is you can buy products that might give you a visualization for that one product. But this is pretty product agnostic because we're building it to have all the data points merging across systems. So it's definitely a high-end use. And you can see that at a glance, we can get a lot of information and make a lot of quick decisions. So as soon as the data is in the data viz, within 24 hours, it's populated into charts. So a classroom teacher can see how their kids are doing based on the data that they put in yesterday and make instructional decisions. That's quick.
How do they put in that data?
Kind of painful, I guess. Not too bad, Jen's here. She's like,
How do you go to your grades?
yeah, it's a little, go ahead, Ching.
Yeah, it's not very hard. They just
Very
put in just put in the raw score and everything you see on the viz, like populated, the highlighted, the color, the results, all that is calculated by Tableau actually. So for the teachers, they just need to put in like the raw score, that was it.
I think it depends how many raw scores you're putting in, right? If you're a kindergarten teacher, there's a lot.
How long have you been using it?
This is the third year we're using it.
What did you do before?
Mm.
Excel workbooks.
Yeah, before it was all on the Excel.
So we purchased it with ESSER funds when we had funds available to it. We bought the program and what they've done with it is just beyond what we had imagined at that point. I mean, we knew we needed a data system, but
So it's like a SNAP, like
Yeah.
other schools will use SNAP, SNAP. Basically.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah,
Well, at the school where I work, that's what we did, and basically, it didn't quite have all this, seems to be great. You know, but it was basically like that, where you could look up everything and it was all data driven.
I don't know what SNAP is.
I think that's an offshoot of Power School.
Is it?
Yeah,
Yes,
like-
I was-
Yeah, it has health information.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Power School.
All right, right,
SNAP was the medical part of it,
yeah.
but Power School was a lot, but not as intense as this. It doesn't seem.
Seth, you had a question?
Yeah, have you been asked by the state to provide any of this data yet?
We have opted to provide screenshots of data to the state.
We will be asked at some point, we believe, for easy CBM data based on that screener law that they passed a few years ago. So we're expecting that will be asked for at some point.
Yeah, I actually sit on the General Assembly's data analysis technology advisory board. And I know that the goal is at some point to spread out not only to, like, currently the state data policy requires state agencies to have a data officer and to provide certain libraries of data. And in the case of education, I would imagine it would be just aggregated data and not individual data because of FERPA and other privacy laws. But I just think at some point in the future, while this is awesome and this is wonderful data that you're getting, we should start thinking about what aggregate data sets might make sense to share with the state for their, P20 win or whatever child development programs that they have.
Yeah, we do provide data for them in a couple different ways. Ching actually works a lot on the different data uploads with Christine, does a lot too, is that
Yeah,
right?
the state reporting.
For the state reports. So we're actually in pretty good shape. A lot of the data that you saw tonight was included in our reading waiver in screenshots and disaggregated as well as we had different meetings with them. So we're prepared. We're happy to share.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments by other members of the committee?
Great.
Thank
I-
Thank you, Sheila.
If you could just hold for a second. Because I have comments. I I can't underscore enough, for the general public that may watch this video and for board members, the critical importance of this as one of the primary pillars that supports, we often talk about the Madison approach to curriculum, which is in many ways unique, and that we write all of our curriculum. And we've seen the results over the last couple of years in terms of our assessment data. But the pillar for this is an absolutely essential and powerful tool when you're investing in teachers and you expect them to be responsive and working all the time on watching the progression of their students. If they don't have that information at their fingertips, then that philosophy and that approach is limited. This is the most extensive use of that I have ever seen in my professional career. And as important and as exciting as it is to see it, people tend to look at it and go, well, okay, they had good data. We have to connect the dots. This is the essential tool for teachers to be responsive to what is going on in their classroom and to rapidly adjust, which is why, from my perspective, we keep seeing the improved scores and results that we see, because we're giving, one, teachers permission to own that curriculum, and two, giving them the tools to really use it and be responsive to students. So I can't underscore the importance of this enough, and that it shouldn't be looked at as just, okay, so we're good at data. It's much more than that.
Yes.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you for staying late. Appreciate it. Next, talk about teacher leaders. We have two here. And I think you are good here.
You got the table then.
Uh,
It's big enough, I guess.
Yeah, is it big enough? I think you're familiar with Jenna Guzzi and Paul Messick. You've seen them before. And I think you guys know everyone on the team.
Yep.
And of course you know TJ.
Yeah.
And so TJ has done so much preparation for NEAS with this team. It's incredible. I happened to join them in one of their weekly meetings for several hours as they're getting ready for NEAS. And it's just incredible to see the amount of work and the amount of pride that they have in sharing all the good work that's gone on at Daniel Hand. So I'd like to thank you both. They are co-chairs of the NEAS visiting or hosting team, I guess, or co-chair, what was the title you came up with? Accreditation chairs. And they have put in an incredible amount of hours over several years. So thank you both very much. TJ, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Gail, and thanks for having us tonight. We'll go quickly, but we'll certainly answer any questions. So the NEAS process is extensive. Like Paul will say, it never ends. It's a 10-year process, but it certainly never ends. Just for one bit of clarification, this presentation is actually the presentation that we are sharing with the visiting team the first morning they're with us, just to give them kind of a foundation of what they'll be observing and collecting data on over their visit in November. So if you see some parts that don't look like they're necessarily directed to Board of Education members of the community, this is actually the presentation to the visiting team. And just as a reminder, our decennial visit is November 17th through 20th. So it's literally right around the corner. So pretty extensive process. We just thought we would outline quickly. The first step was about 3 years ago where we applied for candidacy, and we're up for reaccreditation. Just as a reminder, we're an accredited high school. And once we submitted that application, then we start a relatively new process that most schools haven't gone through yet, because NEAS changed their approach. We completed a self-reflection report that involved the entire faculty, led by Paul and Jen, who I'll speak about in a few minutes, that really focused on the foundational elements and the standards that are required for accreditation, and really a deep dive and a pretty impressive report that we submit prior to the collaborative conference that took place in November of 2022. That's a quick visit. Visiting team comes, they walk through our school. They're there pretty much for a day. They read our report, and then they give us the next steps with a report of the visiting team, which comes with both accommodations and recommendations. And that drives the next 2 years of our work, which is almost coming to a conclusion in preparation for the decennial visit. So if you take a look at this particular slide, you can see how the collaborative conference informs what's called the NEAS School Improvement Plan, which is a little different than our district and our school development plans, which results in our school summary report, which we will submit by November 1st in preparation for the decennial visit. So we're in a really good place. I will say, I think Paul and Jen would agree. We are really looking forward to this visit, and not as a to get it over with, but as a to show off some of the great things that we're doing at Daniel Hand High School. So first slide, just is welcoming the visiting team. I will take every single opportunity to highlight the incredible, absolutely incredible recognition of our high school for the performance over the last decade, and to be recognized as a national blue ribbon school. I do think it's worth noting the 2 years between the collaborative conference visit and the decennial visit are beyond overwhelming, and it's really easy to get bogged down as a school and focus literally just on meeting the NEAS needs. The fact that we were nominated and recognized as a blue ribbon school during that time is incredible. I do think that's worth noting. NEAS has the potential to really have a negative impact on the school if it's not done properly, and it had the complete opposite. And I'm really proud of the fact not only that we've been recognized nationally, but the timing is truly amazing, and I'm extra proud for that work of our teachers and our students, because it really is absolutely incredible. What we've been up to since November of 2022, a whole lot of things, but in relation to NEAS, we had to write a very specific school improvement plan. We integrated the elements of that plan into our school development plan, and we've been working on our action steps now in preparation for our school improvement plan report, which when NEAS comes, they will focus on that particular area, not all of the areas that were a discussion point and focus in the collaborative conference visit. Our steering committee, which is a great group of professionals at our school, took the time to write the decennial report. We're in the final editing phases right now, and we'll be uploading that to the NEAS portal again by that November 1st deadline. So I am going to this one and share the next pieces of information with Paul Mezek and Jenna Guzzi. Before we do that piece, I will say with incredible confidence, these two, their professionalism, their focus, their support for our faculty. If there's one thing that's important about NEAS, is it's teacher driven, it's not administrator driven. The leadership by Jen and Paul has been simply incredible, and NEAS has had a positive impact on our school. And I could say with a certainty, not every school who goes through this process can state that. And I could state it publicly, and Jen and Paul have been absolutely incredible. And I told them, since NEAS never ends, their role in this position never ends as well. So it never at one point have I said, are you interested in not being involved? Because that's just simply not an option. They've been incredible.
And retire.
Yeah. Not until I do. So you get I would say their leadership is simply incredible and really appreciated.
I have to say, when TJ said who his co-chairs were, I was like, you couldn't ask for more detail-oriented, thorough people than the two people in front of you.
Yes.
I feel like we have complementary
We do.
strengths,
We do.
right?
We
Like,
definitely do.
when we're like, these are the things we have to do, Paul says, I wanna do these things, I'm like, perfect, cause I'd like to do those, like.
Good behind
It's
the
worked
scenes.
very well, and I have to credit TJ as well, a lot of administrators don't let their teachers take control of it, so the fact that he has supported and empowered us to take this leadership role. Also speaks very highly of his leadership.
So the report is broken up into several parts, so we're just gonna go through the parts, they may not seem super sequential, but I'll try my best. So the best way to understand the foundational elements is to really get a handle on how the school is measured. There are 5 standards by which we're measured against. Within those 5 standards, there are 26 principles. And within those 26 principles, there are 6 of them that have sort of a sub-element called a foundational element. So what I'd like to do is just briefly familiarize you with the 5 different standards. The first one is learning culture. And that is the school provides a safe learning culture that ensures equity and fosters shared values among learners, educators, families, and members of the school community. The second standard is student learning. The school has a vision of the graduate that includes the attainment of transferable skills, disciplinary and interdisciplinary knowledge, understandings, and dispositions necessary to prepare learners for the future. The third standard is professional practice. The school maintains and implements a school growth and improvement plan, organizational practices, the productive community, and productive community relationships to meet and support student learning needs. Yes, I probably need the glasses. Yeah, the fourth standard is learning support. The school has timely, directed, and coordinated interventions for all students. And lastly, but not least, standard 5 is learning resources. The school has adequate and appropriate resources to support the realization of its core values, beliefs about learning, and vision of the graduate. And so of the 26 principles and the 6 foundational elements, there was one particular foundational element that we did not feel we met the standard for, and that was really because of the curriculum. We still needed to have curricula written for several different subject areas. And so the work that we did over the last couple of years was making sure that all the curriculum was written in understanding by design format, which includes all of those characteristics of having aligned standards, essential questions, and varying understandings and knowledge. And we also embedded our capacities, our profile of graduate capacities into that process. When the visiting team comes to our school, the places that they'll be able to find evidence for that growth is the adopted curriculum in EduPlanet. They'll be able to find that also on the Madison curriculum webpage. They'll be able to speak to teachers who were involved in the process. And they'll also be able to find evidence of what was transpired in the curriculum review council. The second part is a reflection on what we call priority areas for growth. And so the priority areas for growth are generally areas where you identify you don't meet one of the standards, but it doesn't have to be. It could just be something that the school community would like to move forward and improve on. Our first priority for growth was related to the foundational elements, not having the curriculum written for all of the courses. And so we since worked towards that goal by completing the curriculum in all of the disciplines. In addition to that, embedding the profile of graduate capacities throughout the curriculum. And we also looked at systems for possibly communicating progress to students, parents, and community about the growth our students have in capacities. So when a visiting team comes to our school, they'll be able to find evidence of that in the independent project work that students are doing. They'll look for integration in the courses, units, PBAs that we currently have in our classes, the personal finance course, as well as discussions with teachers and just going into classrooms and seeing the curriculum alive, being taught, assessments, and the casual conversations that teachers are having, as well as the posters and displays we have around the building for the visualization of the profile of graduate capacities. The second area of growth for us, this came really from the teachers, the school community, was the idea of having plans, time to collaborate and really start talking about student performance. And so we're calling this our collaborative time. And what we've done since then is we've allocated consistent collaborative time. So at the beginning of every year, the leadership team looks at the calendar and kind of strategically looks at what Tuesday meetings would be best for PLCs, faculty and department. For example, maybe on the backside of the exams would be a great time to have a PLC where teachers can talk about student performance. We've also created some common question guidelines for teachers to have in these conversations about talking about student performance, as well as a commitment to recording any of the minutes from those meetings so that we have reference to discussions that happened prior and when we have future meetings. Again, when the visiting team comes to our school, we're hoping that they'll be able to see evidence of this in our PLC meetings. We're hoping they'll be able to visit and join us. They'll be able to meet with the leadership team and talk to the coordinators and how we've been able to make these common questions and collect the meeting minutes and just get our departments start thinking about student performance. They'll be able to see this in our evaluation calibrations, which is really one big giant PLC for the leadership team. And also the building calendar, just to see when we spread out our meetings, departments, PLCs, and faculty meetings. The third priority for growth was our HVAC and shared spaces. And so one of the issues we were having was scheduling conflicts. And so what we tried to do was come up with a way to eliminate that. And we took advantage of a Google feature for the calendar feature. So we've worked towards implementing the Google Calendar to eliminate any type of conflict with shared facilities. This would be like an academic teacher that maybe wants to go out on the field to, for example, our physics department. We do these rocket launches, but there might be a health teacher that's running a phys ed class out there at the same time. So this avoids those types of conflicts. We also upgraded our lighting and our sound system for the stage, and we also secured funding for our HVAC system. And for the visiting team, they'll be able to see this by basically meeting with the athletic director and leadership team and administration, as well as getting a tour of the facilities. And part 3 is a reflection on the principles. And so we don't go through all 26 principles, but what we do is we look at any of the principles where we moved the needle. And it could be in any direction, but you want it to be in a positive direction, which it was in our case. Principle 1.2 is learning culture. I'm just going to read it for a second. The school's core values, beliefs about learning, and the vision of the graduate drive student learning. So this was a principle that we were sort of on the fence about, but because we didn't have the capacities in all of the curricula, because not all the curricula was done, we couldn't truthfully say that the profile of a graduate or vision of a graduate is really driving our student learning professional practices until we completed that part. So over the course of the last 2 years, profile of a graduate has been updated in all our curriculum. We now have the breakout rubrics, as well as integrating the profile of a graduate language throughout the school building. And where we will see this is in our rubrics, the classroom visits. We're hoping that the visiting team will see teachers talking about the capacities with the students. They'll see it in their agendas, they'll see it in the assignments they're giving, the assessments they're giving, the PBAs. They'll also see it throughout the building. They'll be displayed in the classrooms and also the hallway, and also the student work that will be available to them, as well as the students who will be sharing their personal work with the visiting team. Principle 2.2, if you recall, I mentioned the foundational elements are connected to principles. Well, the foundational element that we didn't meet was 2.2a, and that is essentially because we didn't have a written curriculum at the time. So this slide that you're looking at is literally a duplicate of the same work that we made in progress towards that foundational element, as well as the evidence. And in our last one, we moved the needle with regard to our HVAC and our scheduling, we now have the calendar. We secured funding for the HVAC system. We've upgraded the lighting and sound system, and now we have trained people to use those systems. Where this can be seen is the Google Calendar, our capital improvement plan, as well as the tour of the facilities, and so we are also asking the students what their take is on this new equipment that we have.
Okay. So part 4 is the school is a learning organization. This is called the 4 C's, and it's actually some of the more abstract work that actually really matters in the school, but it's hard to find concrete evidence. So essentially there's 4 questions, right? Does the school as a whole understand the work that you need to do, right? What goes into it? Are you committed to doing it? I'm gonna go back and forth a little bit. Do you have the skill to do it? And do you have the resources to do it, right? So those are essentially what the 4 C's are. So if we go back to our conceptual understanding, if we look at our core values and belief statement, our profile of a graduate, the fact which is our vision of the graduate, right? Same thing, just different terminologies for different groups. The teacher evaluation plan was really instrumental in being able to support this work and to say that yes, as a district, we are defining our conceptual understanding, our teachers know what goes into this work. And the variety of professional development opportunities, vertical meetings, so that we're making sure that we're all on the same page, we have shared language, right? That's all things that we were really able to look to take this very abstract concept and support that, yes, we're in a good place with that. We're certainly committed to doing this important work. As you can see from all the work that's been done to actually embed the profile of graduate capacities. Our commitment to student learning shows in our redo and retake policies, the addition of a career and college counselor. And again, the teacher evaluation plan, all that investment in the new work, and making sure that everyone understands it certainly speaks to our commitment. And then the participation of the entire faculty of the NEAS process also speaks to the commitment of this district and of the school community. For competency, again, we were able to successfully make a NEAS school improvement plan that is combined with the school development plan that shows, that we understand the work that needs to be done, that we have the skills to do it, as we have the action steps outlined. The profile of graduate capacities exists, and the fact that they're embedded throughout everything speaks to our competency as well. Like in the teacher evaluation plan, again, it's a lot of the same stuff, but it speaks to different components of these 4 C's. And our commitment to core values and beliefs, the way we see that embedded in different areas of decisions that are made at the district and school level. And then having those independent project and personal finance courses to speak to that highest level of student learning, our competency to get students being able to execute and show their ability to do those capacities. And finally, capacity really is resources. Do you have the ability to, the funding and support the district to do all these things? Yes, we do, as evidenced by our capital improvement plan, the school budget, which is more than sufficient to do all of these things. We have this collaborative time, support for professional development, and individualized trainings as needed. So I don't think anyone's ever gone to TJ and said, hey, can I do this PD? He says yes every time. We're able to have those opportunities for sure. And then part 5 is the opposite of abstract. It's the most concrete part. It's, okay, what are we going to do while we're here? What do you want us to look for? It's really, I think, one of the most important things for the visiting team is to say, hey, we're here at your service. What do you want from us? What can we do for you? What do you want us to look for? So they have, their list of things that they have to look for in a visit, but we're asking them to focus in their classroom observations, which is really the heart of their visit. They're going to try to get into the room of every single teacher at least once. So we want them to look for reference to the profile of graduate capacities embedded throughout instruction, to visit specific courses that are implementing new curriculum and see that in action. We want them to definitely visit independent project and personal finance courses. They'll also meet with students who will be displaying their work and, kind of walking the visiting team through it. That will be in tandem with an instructor. So to kind of hear the teaching and the learning side of that. And we certainly would like them to visit algebra lab, algebra class, as that removal of level 3 is new this year. Something that while they're here, we wouldn't mind having feedback on that. Outside of classroom observations, we want to take them on that facilities tour. They will sit in on PLC meetings across departments on Tuesday afternoon. We actually are scheduling an evaluation calibration. We think this really speaks a lot to our, at least 2 of our priority areas for growth, as well as some of the places where we've moved the needle. We want them to see that. And it speaks a lot to that abstract part, to that showing that we have a competency and the understanding of, you know, what this work is at teaching learning. We'll set them through a virtual tour of the Google Calendar. And we want to have a meeting with faculty who oversee and write curriculum. So in their teacher meeting, we'll make sure that we have like a Brian Gwynn, who's just been through the wellness curriculum, and different, you know, people who are, you know, Paul's overseeing the science curriculum, you know, as we speak, and make sure that they touch base with those people. And finally, they'll sit with students and teachers to share out work relating to the profile graphic. So that is the conclusion of that. Yeah, one more piece.
Awesome, great work. And just our next steps, and this is what we'll be communicating to obviously the visiting team. Our continued support for the revision process of the curriculum that, you know, are up per the schedule. And a big step for us is that authentic and explicit reference of the profile with graduate capacities in instruction. We're in a really good place there. And focus on student performance in PLCs, relatively new at the high school. We've made a lot of incredible progress thus far, but we don't want to stop with our current progress. Our new teacher eval and administrator eval plan includes collaborative goals. It's been excellent thus far. We are still in the beginning phases of that. And then, you know, all of us are looking really forward to the replacement of the HVAC system. Well, that is not an exaggeration in any sense. They're coming tomorrow to measure, and they are. I think I'm going to go on the roof. If you've never been there, it's a pretty cool place to be. And, you know, just for the Board of Ed, once this decennial visit is complete, you know, the visiting team will write a report. They will submit it to us for a review of the draft to see if we have any differences of opinion on the input. They will send that off once they get our approval on the content to actually NEASC, who will review the report and then within 6 months send us the response regarding not only our accreditation, which we will certainly be accredited, but then any recommendations and accommodations commendations, excuse me, that will drive our next school improvement plan, which is due within the first year of receiving the report. Part of my responsibility when we receive the report is to make it very public. It's a public facing document. And part of that is sharing with the Board of Education. Gail and I have a cool plan for that once it comes out. But this will be a document that sits in the library. You know, we're supposed to send it to the media and all of the above, but I'm expecting a really positive response with a lot of accommodations and hopefully some recommendations that we could find to be very useful to continue our move forward. So we're available if you have any questions. We just wanted to make sure you were aware of what we are about to walk into now as the final part of the decennial process, which literally starts again the next day once it's over after November 20th.
Like Sam's workshop.
Yeah.
And as a reminder to the board, you received the invite Friday for the Sunday before the visit starts. They do that by Zoom. They used to bring the Board of Ed and Central Office Administration together on that Sunday before, but they do have a Zoom option. So we look forward to having the board be part of that process. So thank you for being available.
So we missed the big meal.
Yes.
Not even a cracker.
You know, I'm speaking for the committee and for the board, you know, I'm very confident that you are thoroughly and well prepared for this, and it will, you know, go very well. I mean, you're obviously commended for your work on this, you know, and you know, I hear what TJ is saying, because you know, for lots of schools, this is just a burden. for a few select schools, it's an opportunity to learn. And for even more select schools, it's an opportunity to grow the whole organization in terms of leadership and buy-in, and, you know, clearly, you know, you've embraced that, so. You know, very few school districts look forward to the visit, but I can understand where you would. You know, and you should.
Yeah.
At this point, so. You know, makes me, and I'm sure other board members in the community proud that you know, you genuinely embrace this process and make the best use of it.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We want to thank the board for their commitment to curriculum, because you see it counts. We finished up wellness last year in June, and that completed all of the curriculum content areas. So your commitment to curriculum really helped us in the process too. So thank you for the funding for that, and the PD and all the other pieces.
Facilities too as well. You heard that.
Facility, right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Paul and Jen too. It has been a lot of work, so we appreciate everything.
At this point, there's only one of the 26 principles that we're not implementing, and NEAS has removed that for the next round of principles.
Great.
Just one thing I wanted to mention is I was happy to learn, I think it was last year when you first did a presentation, TJ, on this process coming up. And this is the second one I've lived through on the board. But I was very happy that NEASC has moved in the direction of explicitly discussing student safety, security, and also the learning culture to include more social emotional learning. And I am so excited for them to see all the work we've done in those areas. You know, I know that we're out ahead of most, and I think hopefully this will be an opportunity to learn and confirm that idea. So thank you for all the great work.
Thank you, Seth.
Thank you.
Thanks for your presentation.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for having us, everyone.
We will adjourn at 6:24.
Thank you.